Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see a lot of friends here tonight. On December 2nd, 2003, I was a fairly new captain. I was summoned to a closed portion of a restaurant in an LA area casino. And there was an assistant sheriff waiting for me. And when I got there, he strongly encouraged me to give an exclusive tow contract to a company that was, quote, very supportive of the department. I refused to do so. When I was a commander, I was strongly encouraged to drop a disciplinary case against a sergeant who pointed a gun at another sergeant because the offending party was a pal of the sitting undersheriff. I refused. I also refused to get a tattoo on my ankle that represents a deputy clique. I refused to drink the Kool-Aid offered by the arrogant folks who had risen to power within the organization and have since brought the department to its knees. Instead, I stuck to my principles, worked hard, and made sure I would never lose the ability to look at myself in the mirror, or more importantly, lose the respect of my family and those who believed in me. This is how I've conducted myself as an elected official for the past 13 years and as a member of the Sheriff's Department for 29 years. I was elected to Lakewood City Council in 2001. I was reelected in 2005, 2009, and 2013. I'm currently the mayor, and during my tenure on the council, we have maintained our fiscal stability, a high level of public safety and city services, and we've repaved every residential street within 10 years, all while maintaining the respect of our constituents with no shenanigans. As a captain of Carson Station for 6 years, I institutionalized community policing and made sure every one of my deputies participated, not just a select few. I created a gang diversion team to help steer youth away from gangs and crime, and this program has impacted 800 lives. We lowered crime to historic levels, and we gained the support and the respect of our community. 12 months ago, Lee Baca came to me and asked me if he could promote me from commander to assistant sheriff. I said, you're the sheriff, you can do whatever you want. But he asked me to implement reforms to undo corruption, mismanagement, and cronyism that had become pervasive within the organization. I have since increased accountability for our command staff, reformed our hiring and promotional processes to reflect merit rather than cronyism. I started the process of healing our budget problems and created an internal whistleblower website that employees can now use anonymously. As your next sheriff, I am wholly committed to focusing on service delivery and our core missions, creating strong lines of accountability from the top of the organization down, responding to the mental health crises on our streets and in our jails, welcoming external oversight, and actually inviting the Department of Justice and other best practices experts into the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and institutionalizing community policing throughout every aspect of our operation. We will regain your trust, bolster pride within the organization, and retake our place as the premier law enforcement organization in the world. I'm very proud to have the support of the command staff, many of the rank and file, and over 62 mayors, council members, and school board members throughout the county of Los Angeles. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, regarding the matter in San Diego with the concealed carry weapon issues, how do you stand on that?
That is a long way from being settled. I will tell you, I'm the one that's responsible for issuing CCWs now. I inherited that job. What I did find that was grossly unfair is that we had a lot of people who were issued CCWs because of who they were connected to, not because they had a justification, and regular people like us were routinely denied, summarily denied. County council came to me and said, would you like to appeal the Peruta decision? Would you like to go on record as being the county that challenges this? I said no. That's a decision by a federal court. We're going to respect that. If it's upheld, we're going to implement it. And we're going to implement it to the letter of the law. But then the Attorney General stepped in, some statewide law enforcement organizations stepped in, and it's going to go en banc for the review of the full circuit and probably to the Supreme Court. So we're going to wait till that outcome is definite, and in the meantime, we're going to maintain the best or the good cause requirement because that's the law in the state of California. Yes, sir.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm an active duty soldier in the U.S. Army, and I was actually injured while deployed protecting this country, so I've shed blood to protect the U.S. Constitution. So I apologize to you if this seems disrespectful, but it seems to me that you danced around the question of the Second Amendment. And I hold it very close because I've shed blood. Like I said, I was in a CH-47 helicopter crash. I was injured. And this is a may issue state. I firmly believe that the Second Amendment should be a shall issue state. So how do you personally feel on that, and what exactly are you going to do to protect our Second Amendment rights?
Well, number one, I'm going to follow the law. Thank you for your service, by the way. I'm going to follow the U.S. Constitution, and I'm going to follow the laws of the state of California, which I'm sworn to do. And right now, the law of the state of California is you have to demonstrate good cause to be issued a CCW. That being said, this is a crazy world, and I think it's reprehensible that you can't stop at a traffic light and look to the left at somebody without fear that they're going to pull out a gun and point it at you. I respect your right and everybody's right to protect yourselves and your family. And if I've known you for 20 years and I know your character and I know that I can trust you to carry a CCW, by all means. The problem with the process is, number one, people with money and influence get them, and regular people like us don't. And secondly, how can I determine if I don't know you when you come in and we do a background check through DOJ and you have no disqualifiers in terms of criminal history or mental health history, but all of your neighbors and your family members know that you're crazy and shouldn't have a gun? How do I figure that out? And I think that's a missing link in the process. So I personally support the Second Amendment. I support your right, everybody's right to protect yourself and your family, but I'm duty-bound to obey the law of the United States of America and the state of California, and that's what I'm going to do.
Well, my second question to that would be, I'm also an NRA instructor, pistol, rifle, shotgun, every quality they have, I do have. And I instruct people to carry concealed handgun licenses in other states beyond California. So in doing that, the NRA puts a lot of training into individuals to carry those licenses. How would you feel about setting up a practice where, to alleviate that problem, it gives you a solution? They've gone through an NRA training program. They've gone through a solution to that problem, and it comes to you solved, seems to me, and that they would be legally allowed to carry that handgun and be trusted to if an organization that's proven, such as the NRA, would do so.
Let them answer the question.
Well, that means they're proficient with the weapon, which is important, but it doesn't solve the background issue. So instead of a background check, we probably need a background investigation. And that's going to be very expensive and logistically difficult, but I think it's worth it so we can uphold the Second Amendment and the rights of people to carry a firearm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Am I out of time?
Did he? No? We have more questions.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
What determines good cause?
Good cause. There are several factors, primarily some sort of credible threat. Credible threat to your safety beyond just it's a dangerous world. That's the general standard. So you have to articulate what the threat is, threats to your family. You've been a victim of a crime and you're afraid of retaliation from the suspects who committed the crime, issues like that.
So the threat has to be direct.
It has to be verifiable and it has to be credible.
Any more questions?
Great. Oh, yes, sir.
I'm Eric Previn. I'm a Studio City resident and a candidate for the 3rd Supervisorial District.
Good luck.
And thank you. I wanted to ask you, in terms of the management of some of the administrative issues, when we hear that lapel cameras, for example, were estimated to cost $63 million, and then we found out that Steve Soboroff and the LAPD put some into effect, a smaller number, but for just over $1 million. What does that tell you about the way the numbers are coming back to the sheriff, and what would you do to make sure you're getting good, straight answers?
Well, I would tell the truth. $63 million. I mean, obviously somebody didn't want to have lapel cameras and they're lying to you. You could do research online and see it's not going to cost you $63 million. That's one thing that I've worked real hard to do. We have a $2.8 billion budget. I manage that now, and we make sure that we are allocating that money fairly. I talked about core missions, making sure we're focusing on those, but we also have personnel that are now dedicated trying to find the best deals we can on issues like that. We are a large department. There is, you've heard of economy of scale. We're just the opposite because everything costs so much, like getting MDCs or mobile digital computers in our radio cars. Took us forever because they're so expensive. But my only answer to your question is somebody gave bad information, and it sounds like a lie to me.
All right. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.